welcome to Kearsarge Food Hub's annual meeting. I'm Frost, Executive Director and co-founder, and this is Hannah.
Yes, co-founder and director of community engagement currently.
And tonight we will be your hosts. Please introduce yourselves in the chat. Maybe let us know where you are and what you are eating for dinner. We really want to know. Please do let us know. We like a busy chat, so get in there and let us know what's good. As a nonprofit organization serving the Kearsarge region, we really value this opportunity to report back to you, our community, our supporters, on the impact of our work, everything that happened in 2023, and a little bit about what's coming moving forward. We would like to begin this evening with a land acknowledgement. We are on the unceded land of Windakina, which has long served as home and a site of meeting for Abenaki people for thousands of years. Kearsarge Food Hub honors, recognizes, and respects these Abenaki as the traditional stewards of the land and waters in which we live and work. We commit to respecting and helping protect the lands within our use and share the bounty with our Abenaki partners today.
The beautiful way to start is an important acknowledgement. Of course, it doesn't start with the words, right? So we're going to dig into a little bit more about exactly how we do share with our Abenaki partners and all sorts of other amazing things tonight. I'm just going to take a minute to orient us to the space, to the night, so that we all know what to expect. We do have a lot of information to share. As most of you probably know, we're a complex organization. We have a lot going on. So we have a lot to share, but we do pledge to end on time tonight at 7:30 p.m. So we really respect that you're taking the time, and we're really grateful that you're taking the time to spend your evening with us tonight. So thank you so much for being here. Our schedule is pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. We're actually going to start by hearing from our special guest, hearing a more kind of community-wide perspective on what's going on in the Kearsarge region from that special guest we're going to introduce shortly. And then we're going to kind of hone in on the Kearsarge Food Hub specifically. We're going to hear from France about the state of the organization as a whole and where we're heading. And then we're going to hone in even further and hear from our program leaders. We have some incredible program leaders here tonight. We're going to talk about Sweet Pea Farm. We're going to talk about our food security work, the market and cafe, our educational programming, and our community building work. And we're going to do that in my favorite format of all time. I'm not sure if anybody here has little kids. You might do your rose, thorn, bud recap of the day. But essentially, the format is a rose, which is a highlight. So the program leaders will reflect on 2023 with some highlights. Then we'll get into the thorn, which is a challenge that we're looking at because let's be real, there are challenges that we are facing. And then we're going to look ahead at what's to come in each of our programs, and that's going to be our bud. And so while all this is happening, we do invite you to utilize the chat. We are going to have a discussion and Q&A period at the end after all of that wraps up. We really want to hear from you all tonight. So it's going to be a lot kind of information, but leave any questions, any comments, any thoughts in the chat at any time. And more than that, we really hope that this space can be welcoming and inclusive and you feel comfortable sharing your thoughts. So you're welcome to message France or I directly at any time. If you don't want to share with the group, we're happy to do what we can to make the space feel welcoming. We're happy to relay your questions on your behalf. And of course, your choice to have your video on or off, but during the discussion period, it would be awesome to see faces and hear voices of everybody in the room if you have a question and you feel comfortable voicing it. Don't be shy, because we love to hear from you all. And again, thank you so much for being here. So pass it back off to France.
Thank you, Hannah. So now that we've oriented a little bit around the space, it's my absolute honor to introduce our first speaker of this evening. Jenn Alford-Teaster is an inspiring community advocate and an absolute joy. She's been coming into Sweet Beat since I can remember with her daughter Birdie and her husband Jason. They are invested in our local food system. Just last year, Jenn volunteered on Sweet Pea Farm, and she's been a long-time contributor to the Food Hub. Jenn recently took on a new role at New London Hospital as their community health program manager, and she's going to share a little bit about what she's working on and how KFH plays a role in our community's health. And to you, Jenn.
Oh, wonderful. What a beautiful introduction. Thank you for being so thoughtful and intentional about that, Franz. It is an absolute joy to be here for many reasons. First and foremost, I am a community member. I live in Sutton, and I come to Kearsarge Food Hub regularly. Bertie and I have had Friday night dates down at the Kearsarge Food Hub, and we go there for all our food essentials and also our community essentials. Sometimes I just go down there to see Lauren. I just want to run my mouth off to Lauren or Cassie. And they know because they can't get any work done when I show up. So I'm a delight. It's a delight to be here. Again, I'm Jenn, Alford-Teaster. I'm the program manager for community health in New London Hospital. I'm also very involved in our community. I am a New Hampshire Hunger Solutions board member. I am also on the board of Kearsarge Neighbor Partners, which I see so many of my colleagues here tonight. And I have been on at the New London Hospital since October, coming off of 17 years at Dartmouth College studying geographic access to healthcare services, with a particular focus on rural communities. And I've brought that scientific lens to my work at New London Hospital as a former board member. So my investment in this work runs really deep and profound. I have been engaged in the community health needs assessment process for the last couple of months, most intensely. I've been working to distribute the survey for our community, both in paper form, but in also digital form, in order to reach as many people as possible. Because one of the things I noticed when I first came into my work is that we were having difficulty getting into some of our most rural and remote communities, and I know that in my work over the last 17 years that rural and remote communities really rely on you to go to them in order to build trust and develop relationships. And one of the things that I have seen in some of the paper ballots that have been coming through, because I've been hosting events at community centers over the last month and a half, is a really the theme of food insecurity coming up frequently. People who do not have enough food, people who are, and also I want to tie into the food, the isolation. So many of the respondents that I've been collating data on, I'm seeing seniors who are at home, who do not have access to the internet, are really relying on Meals on Wheels to bring them food, or are making the hard choice between getting other necessary services and receiving food in order to stay, healthy and well. And so one of the things I wanted to kind of tie what I see, the Kearsarge Food Hub doing, which I think you do extraordinarily well, even if in the day-to-day, it's really hard to see those details, is this idea of, the third space. And many of you may be familiar with that. So the concept of the third space is it's not the first space, the home that you come from, or the second space, which is work or school, but there's a third space where you really build community. And Kearsarge Food Hub does an extraordinary job at building this third space. I bring my daughter there. I come down to see you all. I was getting flowers there regularly. It was a source of joy often in the middle of winter when I was, working from home during the pandemic and just wanted to see a friendly face. And you were always, always a friendly face. So you thread a sense of belonging in our community, even if you don't realize it. And so the work that you are doing is so profound and is so meaningful for everyone across every demographic in our region. So I just want to say thank you for the work that you're doing. And I look forward to collaborating with you more in a more professional way as I'm working to build out food systems within the New London Hospital service area. I think I heard Leon was here, and I've been working closely with him on some initiatives at the hospital to bring fresh produce to patients who need it. And that's really exciting. So I just want to say thank you, and I want to be mindful of time. And I do have a poem that I wanted to read to you because I think it really does capture this, the sentiment of the third space and what you all do for us in this community. And I just want to celebrate that. This poem is called Darling Coffee. I think we should all refer to our coffee as darling coffee. This is by Mina Alexander. The periodic pleasure of small happenings is upon us. Behind the stalls at the farmers' markets, snow glinting in heaps, a cardinal, its chest puffed out, bloodshot above the piles of awnings, passions, proclivities. You picking up a sweet potato, turning to me? This too? Query of tenderness under the brown red wing. Remember the brazen world? Let's find a room with a window onto elms strung with sunlight, a cafe with polished cups, darling coffee, they call it. May our bed be stoked with fresh cut rosemary and glinting thyme, all herbs in due season, tucked under wild sheets, fit for the conjugation of joy. Thank you all so much for having me, and thank you for the work that you do. It's so meaningful.
And thank you, Jen. Wow, that was beautiful.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was really delightful.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work and what you're doing for the community. We're lucky to have, you know, for New London Hospital to have gotten you.
Yes, and looking forward to some of our shared initiatives moving forward. And I think you have such a neat balance of, you know, the science and the data and also the art and the poetry. And that's really special. So thank you so much, Jen. And, you know, the community health needs assessment was a few years ago really helpful to us here at KFH in terms of letting us know what is important and what's needed in the community. I'm actually popping the link in the chat for folks in the service area to fill out that 10-minute survey. Not right now, because stick around, we're still here together, but earmark that link so you can fill out the survey. And your data, your voice is really important. Okay. So next up, we are going to hear from our executive director, France Hahn. And before I pass it off to her, I do want to take a moment to celebrate France's recent achievement. I'm not sure if you've heard, but she has been the recipient of the Union Leaders 40 Under 40 Award this year. So we're celebrating France tonight and receiving that award. You know, the 40 Under 40 Awards really recognize excellent leadership in the Granite State, and that is absolutely France. I have had the great honor of working by her side and under her leadership since we started the Food Hub. In 2015, France has a heart-centered leadership style that is rooted in deep listening, cultivating trust and compassion, a true willingness to try and learn any job, a fierce intelligence, and a mind for problem solving with win for all solutions. Her capacity for growth inspires me every single day. I'm so honored to continue doing this work with you, France. And in many ways, I know that this award is emblematic of the powerful impact of our collective work, all of us here in the Kearsarge community, that we've been able to build and snowball over these 9 years, nearly a decade now. So this is a well-deserved honor. We're so lucky to have you. So without further ado, I will pass it off to France.
We're gonna put on the slide.
We're going to put on the slide. So I'm going to share my screen because we have some slides for you.
That we do.
That we do.
Can't get away without a nice presentation.
No. We wouldn't want to either. Everybody seeing the slides?
Thumbs up? All right, we got some thumbs up. We're good, we're
Great.
good. All right, so I'd like to orient us first towards our North Star, which is our vision statement. Everything that we do at the Food Hub has the goal of bringing us closer to this vision. We envision a resilient and connected community where everyone is empowered to access healthy food, where local farmers are supported and the land is nourished, and where all people share common sense of place. I'd like to shout out Don Moss briefly. He designed this beautiful graphic. We used it on a special edition shirt for a season of gratitude and giving. Thank you so much, Dawn. You are a gem.
Hope everyone's enjoying their shirts.
They're very soft.
They're really soft.
Mm-hmm. So I always love looking at this snapshot here. This is just a quick glance at 2023 at the web of people that engage with the Food Hub. And so we can see here we were able to work with 156 food producers. That means we sent money directly to those folks. We hosted over 200 unique learners on Sweet Beet Farm through our farm education programs. We supported over 4,000 neighbors through our food donation and food security programs, and that doesn't include anybody who's using the fridge. We served 4,000 customers through Sweet Bee Market and Cafe. We were supported by 470 donors, very generous donors. We were very fortunate to have 55 volunteers support us throughout the year on a variety of efforts. We had 34 individual employees and 12 fantastic board members. And I wanted to just share a little note on our board of directors. We've been working really hard to develop the board to have a broad scope of perspective and expertise. We're right now in the process of onboarding a few new members, so please do stay tuned to hear about those folks. But with those folks, and our current board, we're gonna have expertise in finance, nonprofit management, human resources, farming and agriculture, education, food security, and nutrition. So that's pretty incredible for us as an organization to really have that, what feels like a 360 perspective. We are still looking for a lawyer. So I just want to give a special thanks to Charlie, our board chair, who has done so much work to build out this board to where it is today, because it's been really instrumental in guiding the strategy of the Food Hub. Next. Sorry.
Right, of course.
Perfect, thank you. So 2023 was a pretty good year financially for the Food Hub. Overall, we were able to meet and exceed our budgets. As you can see here, we continue to nurture diverse income streams. The farm market and cafe brought in over $800,000 in net sales. So that's sales after discounts and before cost of goods are applied. Program services, the vast majority of that is revenue generated from our farm education program, which is the very first time that that's happened, that revenue was generated. And KFH, of course, continues to maintain a rigorous and diversified development and fundraising program, which, as I just mentioned, receives support from just under 500 individual donors. You'll probably notice there on the foundation grants line a pretty big number, and you'll notice that our net operating income is quite significant. The reason for that is that we received an incredibly generous one-time $400,000 grants. The use of these funds is geared towards deepening the financial viability of the organization. $75,000 of that is being allocated to personnel investments. $75,000 is going to be put towards capital improvements, and $250,000 of that is being used to establish an operating reserve. An operating reserve is like a quasi-endowment fund. It's essentially at the discretion of our board of directors, and it's going to earn compounding interest year over year. And it's really going to be there to help support the organization in difficult times, economic and climate uncertainties, and of course we deal with a lot of cash flow fluctuations due to seasonality. So this is really going to help us buffer any issues that we may encounter, and we'll always have the goal of replenishing it as it continues to grow. As you can imagine, this is a really, really big deal for an organization of our size, and we're obviously very, very grateful to the generous donors. You can see under the operating expenses there, you can see that payroll costs are quite significant, and they do certainly, they continue to be our biggest expense. We were able to grow last year our average hourly rate from $16.78 the year prior to $18.65, so about an 11% increase. And that was due to some pay increases as well as a 5% cost of living adjustment to all teammates. Whoa. Pardon me. And we're finding, it's not on the slide or anything, but we're finding other ways to continue to invest in our team. And in 2023, pretty notably, we also implemented the first ever employee bonus funds. And we also gave $45,000 in employee discounts. That's a 25% discount in the market and cafe, as well as a $10 meal credit. So quite significant. Lastly, you can see here the breakdown of expenses by functional area. And as you can see, most of our resources are being allocated and spent towards all of our programming.
Amazing.
So as we approach a decade of community service work, KFH has been is committed to reflection within and without. There's no doubt that we have changed in the nearly 10 years that we've been serving, but also the world around us has changed. And so we are working to ensure that our impact reflects our intent and continues to be relevant to our community today. And so we have really 3 priority areas that will be driving a lot of our work. We're going to continue to invest in our people. We're going to continue to increase employee compensation, continue to grow benefits for our teammates. We're going to regularly seek and integrate feedback from our teammates to ensure that jobs are enjoyable and meaningful at every level. And we're going to create a work environment that is fulfilling. And we want to do this ultimately to attract the right people to this organization, as well as to retain the absolutely incredible team that we have with us today. We are also seeking to understand our impact. And this is a little bit different. Over the last decade, we've been really focused on growing our impact. And now that we're maturing as an organization, we're focused on understanding the impact that we have a little bit better. And so to do that, we are regularly seeking and integrating feedback from the people affected by our services. We're honing in on how to measure the success and impact of KFH programs. So for example, while we've always really measured the pounds of food that we have sent to our food donation programs, there's a lot more nuance that we can get into there, because we could be sending lots of potatoes, but is that the nutrition that people are in need of? And so we're really looking to get a little deeper in our understanding of not only what we can do, but what the community needs. And lastly, we're exploring ways to share KFH models so that they can be replicated in other communities. This has always been something that we've wanted. We've talked about a sweet beet in every town. And a few years ago, I remember really talking about wanting to create a shareable KFH model. Right now, what this looks like is kind of looking at one piece of the puzzle. And so one toolkit that we were part of creating was the Garden Revival Toolkit that is now being replicated in other regions, and we'll be creating a Frege manual. And so kind of the hope is that we're going to be creating a menu of things, of services that folks can use in their communities, wherever they may be. Lastly, we are going to continue to work on prioritizing sustainability. That means for us building out a very exciting dashboard of internal metrics to measure the health of the organization. We're pairing that with an operational strategy that helps keep our leadership team focused, accountable, and on track. I don't know if Billows is on the call, but thank you if you are for helping us to develop that. And we're gonna, as I said, we're honing our business models. So we're no longer simply looking to grow our activities and programs. We're also refining our operational frameworks. We're enhancing inefficiencies, or, more accurately, trying to reduce inefficiencies. And we're restructuring a labor model that feels a little more appropriate for where we are now. And so all of this is very fluid, adaptive, and ongoing. And so we are undergoing a bit of a restructuring of roles at the Kearsarge Food Hub. The predominant change at hand is that we're shifting from a co-executive director model to a single executive director model. So this transition is currently in progress, and I will be assuming the role of executive director while Lauren steps into a more prominent role in managing Sweeby Market and Cafe. We've undergone many roles and structural changes, but this one is a little more significant.
And emotional.
And emotional, but Lauren has been so instrumental at the executive level. So the reason we're doing this is that more resources are required in the market and cafe. Sorry.
It's okay to take a moment because it's a big change.
More support is required at the market and cafe operations, and Lauren is truly the best person to do this. And Lauren will continue to provide lots of support to me on things related to admin and finance. This also means that Cassie's role is shifting. Don't worry, everybody. Cassie's not going anywhere, and you'll still see plenty of her in the market. She's just going to have a little bit less responsibility in the market, and she will be having more time and energy to put into food security. So this is an experimental shift to explore how we can continue working toward a sustainable roles, not only that meet the needs of each individual within the organization, but also the organization itself. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Franz. Just taking a breath. It's a lot. We might have to hop over to your computer for the Zoom because my charger's not working for some reason.
Oh my, okay.
So if we can initiate that change, that would be terrific. We roll with it here at KFH, so we're gonna figure it out.
But what about the presentation?
I'm going to transition while we take a breath and a beat after that beautiful presentation. And we're going to move on to our program leader presentation. So just one moment, folks, while we transition there. If there are any questions about Franz's presentation or that information, please go ahead and leave that in the chat.
So I'm going to share the screen.
And it's already recording, right?
Oh, it's recording here.
Sorry, I don't know why my charger's not working.
We'll be right back, folks. Quick intermission.
Yeah, thanks. We figured it out. Thanks, everybody. We have a lot of cords.
Oh, because I'm on it. No, I'm not. We should be good.
Hearing an echo. How about you guys? Echo?
Yes.
A slight one. But why just have one Hannah and Franz? Why not have four?
You're on twice, and that creates the echo. Sorry.
I think it's gone now.
Is it gone now? End that. You'd think we'd have Zoom down by now, but it's still a mystery space. So thank you, everybody. Hopefully it's like a comedic interlude from a very heartfelt presentation. Thank you, Franz.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. So we're gonna move on. We're already 30 minutes in. We're actually gonna hear next from Pierre, our co-founder and our farm manager now about what's happening on Sweet Beet Farm. So I'm going to share a slide for Pierre and he's gonna dig in. Pierre, off to you.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. So yeah, I'm Pierre and I'm the manager of Sweet Beet Farm. I want to thank everyone for taking some time tonight. And yeah, let me set the stage a little bit for where Sweet Beet Farm has been at. Last year was a great year, and for some years now, we've been looking at different profitable farming models. And, from Curtis Stone to Ben Harmon to Jean-Martin Fortier, these are farmers that have created financially sustainable models. And we've been kind of gleaning from each one of those models and trying to adapt them to here in New Hampshire and doing on a very small piece of land. And last year was the most production we've ever reached on the 2/3 of an acre that we grow on. Jean-Martin, who's kind of the gold standard as a farmer for market gardeners, kind of sets the standard. And this year he set the 2/3 of an acre mark to about $100,000 worth of income. And so we reached around $120,000, which was awesome. And we did that at all wholesale pricing. Most market garden farms have a retail outlet where they can get premium pricing. And we were doing all of our sales at wholesale price. So this was amazing for us. It just shows the resiliency of our farm financially and ecologically, because it was also a very hard weather year, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But I think our success was due to, the standardization of our systems, how lean our systems are, and the higher efficiency we get from that, using the right techniques. Good planning was huge. We've been, as farmers, we tend to be more on the doers, like more of doers than thinkers and planners. And with great help from teammates like Lauren and Frost particularly, they've really helped us create this like amazing plan, which has allowed us to hit the amount of production we did. And I'd say diversification was a huge thing. We have a diversity of crops, and that allows us, particularly in hard weather years, if there's a crop failure, that we have diversity, and so we can lean on other crops in case something goes bad with one of them. And as Frost was mentioning, it's so important for us as a food hub and as for us on the farm to create replicable models that are financially sustainable. And this is what makes it attractive to our youth. And I saw everyone on the farm, from our interns, Anna Cook and Anna Lick, to Rod, to Jake, all really deep in their love for farming, even though the love affair for farming for all these people was probably well on their way. It seemed like having that model that flowed smoothly really made a big impact. So much so that Jake, in a couple of years, he's going to stay with us for a couple more seasons and then head off and create his own farm and live this life and hopefully become a central pillar of our food system right here in Bradford. And that's what we want to do. We want people to come here, absorb the good life that we're presenting here on the farm, and go replicate that somewhere else. So this is, for me, that's a very fulfilling, a very important aspect of what we do here at KFH. In terms of challenges, obviously the big one that sticks out is the weather. The weather was tough, and it threw us all kinds of curveballs. And so that was a challenge for a lot of the year, but we adapted pretty well. We have a protected culture, meaning like high tunnels, spaces that are covered. That really helped to minimize the damage from the rain. We also have the permanent raised beds and minimum tillage techniques. That really helps. The diversity of crops and, soil health in general. I think the health and resiliency of our soil kind of helped us adapt to how tough the climate was last year. And still allowed us to produce, to have really good numbers on the small piece of land that we're producing on. Another hard one, and this has been kind of a long-term problem, is our over-reliance on outside inputs for fertility. We've been adding compost made not here on Sweet Pea Farm. We've been adding all kinds of amendments, soil amendments that are kind of mined all over the world, from ProGrow and ProStar and Green Sand and all those kinds of inputs that are all organic, certified organic inputs, but that are mined all over the world. And so we really want to get away from that, because what I've started noticing is that just adding inputs to our soil is actually having detrimental effects on our long-term soil health. And I was starting to see some of those negative effects last year. And so that was challenging, but fortunately, and I think I mentioned this at our last annual meeting, was that we were really starting to work on creating our own compost. And it's been a new journey for me. I didn't know much about it, but last year really got in there and started making our own compost and creating our own fertility using manure from Eckhart Farms, hay from fields in Bradford, waste from our microgreens, and waste from the market and cafe, along with leaves and branches from our very own forest. And those are all local waste streams or inputs that are now creating our soil fertility. And so last year we made around 10 yards of our own certified organic compost. And we've been slowly adding that to our beds. It's taken a little bit of time to get a lot of volume, but so far the results have been absolutely incredible. And we're going to keep going in that direction for sure. In terms of our strategic direction, we are going to keep creating a space on the farm where we can host our educational programs and also have our production farm, and try to make those two flow effortlessly so that we can mentor anyone that comes on the farm and experiences nature here, and so that we can expose them to our educational themes, from growing food to using food as medicine, to learning about the ecology that surrounds us, and to use nature and learn from nature to take care of our own selves. And obviously, from what I was just mentioning as well, along with our strategic direction, is keeping going in the direction of creating our own compost and making our own compost teas, in order, again, to create the fertility that's fueling the farm, coming from right here in Bradford as much as we possibly can. And yeah, that's the strategic direction. Last couple notes I wanted to mention before I'm done. We are going to be starting to grow our own mushrooms, and we are well on our way for doing that. And so hopefully at some point this year, you will be seeing some organic mushrooms coming from Sweet Bee Farm. And we will also be starting a community composting project, and that means that customers from Sweet Bee will be able to bring their compost to the market, and we'll do a compost exchange so that we can add more fertility to the farm. And lastly, I just wanted to thank you all for your support and enthusiasm for everything that we do.
Thanks, Pierre. Thanks so much. Yeah, I think so many opportunities to figure out how to close the waste loops in our own community for greater self-reliance. So it's beautiful to hear what's going on the farm. Thank you so much for sharing. And we're going to jump right into the next presentation from Cassie, who, as you know, has been managing our food security programming here at the Food Hub. So take it away, Cassie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cassie, and I'm our food access manager here at the Kearsarge Food Hub. And so right now I manage our market as well as our food security programs here. As Franz mentioned, I'll be taking a little step back in the market this year so I can spend more time and have more space to really dedicate to our food security programs here, because there is just so much potential of what we could do with these programs. And I think it's really important that it gets the space and attention that it deserves. So I'm really, really looking forward to expanding as we can, and learning and listening too during that. So I will jump right into our rose, or our success. And I want to briefly tell a story of Food for Thought, which is a new pantry that we're working with this year. They started this summer, and led by Susan Morse and volunteer Meg, who I think Meg's here at least tonight, and just two absolutely incredible women who are putting so much work and dedication and love into feeding our community. And so Food for Thought is similar to a backpack program, and they have a mission to essentially help meet the nutritional needs of children. So they send food home with kids, and then they also work with a few families in the area as well. And so our role in that is to send kind of ready to eat produce to the backpack program. So things like apples and pears. We've sent green beans and mini cucumbers, things that kiddos can munch on. And we also send essentially kind of like mini CSAs to the families every week as well. And they've just been absolutely amazing to work with. And so that's a big success for us this year, is adding our 8th pantry to our food security program. And kind of going off of that a little bit, we have a unique kind of food security program here, where we buy produce directly from our local farmers. And so that provides direct financial support to our local farmers, which is another part of our mission. And we collaborate a lot with our food pantries. We essentially don't want to ever pass on that burden of waste to our pantries. We want to make sure that we are really listening to them and understanding what their families are in need of. And we try and fill that gap the best way that we can. And quickly go over some of our 2023 numbers. We, like I said, work with 8 food pantries this year, including our on-site fridge. They're listed here on the slide. And we donated 28,800 units. So that can be pounds of produce, pounds of meat, individual loaves of bread, or individual grocery items. And with that, we were able to reach 2,000 families this year, which is a huge uptick from last year, where we reached about 500. And we really saw increases in our regional food pantries, so our KLS in New London and Warner food pantries. And versus a single town pantry, they give us a really, really good idea of how our whole region is doing in terms of food security. And we saw need increase a lot. And through this, we were able to increase our food donations by 20% from 2022. But a really important thing to note here is that we only increased our cost by about 9.7%. And that's huge because we were able to help a lot more people in a more significant and impactful way, but without increasing our cost, so that it became unsustainable for our organization. And to do so, we kind of dived into some new and creative solutions, like working with gleaning projects that help save food from being wasted on farms. We worked with local farms to get donations, notably Kearsarge College. Shout out to Leon and the Main Street Garden, which has been amazing to work with. I started purchasing more short date foods, or seconds, which are still really, really high quality foods, but at a lower cost, so we can help stretch our dollar a little bit more. And we also did our 2nd ever annual food drive at the market. And I have to say, just the generosity of our shoppers during that food drive was incredible to see. So big thank you to everyone who helped with that as well. And I also do want to just give a shout out to all of our food pantry partners, because none of these successes would be possible without their work. They work tirelessly, and the majority of them are completely volunteer, and they do it simply out of, love for their community and wanting to be the change that they want to see. So they are all amazing people, and we do this because they're there. So to get into, kind of our thorn, our challenge of the year, it was really the increase in need that we saw from our community members. As everyone knows, cost of living went up pretty considerably in the last couple of years, and we saw a inflation increase of about 7% between 2022 and 2023, and that really carried over into the need that we saw in the 2023 year. And we saw this directly in our community from the usage of the fridge increasing. We heard it directly from our food pantry partners that They had more families than ever signing up and coming more frequently than they had before. And so a big hurdle this year was trying to figure out how are we going to not only stay in line with our impact from last year, but how do we respond to this call to action from our community and step up how we can and help the way that we can. So that was definitely a change for us. But I think, how I mentioned before, those creative ways of adapting to it helped a lot. And then our kind of strategic direction, I, again, will be taking more time in space in not a new position, but expanding my position as food security coordinator here. And so what I really want to do is take the time to conduct a full food system analysis, essentially. And so stepping back a little bit and maintaining our impact, of course, but asking questions like, what do we do well here at the Kearsarge Food Hub? Where are our gaps? And then also looking outside of our organization and doing an analysis of what organizations and individuals in our area are doing, as well as where those gaps may be, and how as an organization can we hopefully step into those and assess whether it's part of our mission to step into those. So just doing a full analysis of what our impact is and what it could be. Yeah, I think that's it.
Wow, thank you, Cassie. I think you did a really beautiful job of, we are here to celebrate our achievements and all that we're able to do together in the community. And we're also here to be real about the need that's out there. So balancing those two things is always important. So thank you so much for sharing your insights and all of your work. We are going to head over to the next presentation. This is going to be Lauren, as you know, does pretty much everything here at KFH. She is going to be taking over the Market Cafe. As Franz mentioned, it's in progress. And so she is going to tell us about the Market and Cafe. So take it away, Lauren.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, guys. As mentioned, I'm Lauren. I'm a co-founder and have served as co-executive director for the past 4+ years, and am shifting into a slightly new role, more dedicated role, overseeing the Market, Cafe, and food security programs. And I'm excited for the change. Yeah, I think, looking back on 2023, the, biggest standout celebration is the reopening of Sweet Beet Cafe. As many of you know, we had to close unexpectedly in February of last year. And from there, our task was to find a way to build a more sustainable model and build it out in such a way that that operation, that part of our organization, could be viable and sustainable over time and provide a reliable service to the community. And so what that entailed was conducting community surveys, testing our assumptions about what we thought we should do or what the community would want. We held a working session with key stakeholders, a sort of focus group, to really tease out different ideas and think outside the box and really figure out what were the fundamental needs and wants from our constituents. And then, we kind of moved forward with this new model in mind, made some changes in the space, did some renovations and remodelings. We hired a new crew. Shout out to Julio and Katie, who have been there for the past year and absolute rock stars. Couldn't do it without you, Carolyn, for helping out as well as you do. We also, needed to create a fresh and simple menu that worked with the seasonality of, our mission, our sourcing, all of that, and provided delicious and delightful meals. We also had to rework our service hours and offerings a bit. So we limited our, service to order aspect to weekends only, as you all know, but we're still able to provide, 5 days a week, a public space through the community room, a way for people to continue to connect, meet up, run into each other, and enjoy some tasty food and drink, and maybe do a little work or read a book at the same time. And that was something that, we felt was just so apparently missing, when the cafe was closed. It just felt quiet and, wasn't as much of a vibrant space as it once was. And so our ability to reopen the cafe and really drive that, that kind of community space has made a huge difference in the market and cafe. Since we've made these changes, it's not ideal, it's not perfect, but we've received so much positive feedback, and hopefully we can continue to improve and expand, in a sustainable way over time, once everything's good and stable. None of this would have been possible without Julio and his leadership, and Katie and her incredible support. And then Cassie and the market crew have, helped out so much, and the whole team all together has made it a fun and successful year. So big shout out to everybody at Sweet Beet. Thank you all so much. The second highlight I wanted to touch on is more market side focused. And Cassie already spoke to this. The February food drive was a really big kind of new campaign, new experience for all of us. It was a way to help support our food donations, and at the same time support our food vendors and farmers in the process, and also drive sales, which is, helps us hit our goals and stick to our plan. So thank you so much to all the customers who contributed to that food drive. There are 4,000 of you out there. Thank you so much for showing up every time you do. Let's see, the last highlight I wanted to bring up is the tastings and vendor highlights. That became a big theme, specifically in our, weekly e-newsletters. We do a vendor highlight, sometimes multiple, and we've been able to host a lot of tastings over the past year, and we'll continue to do so. In fact, we have a wine and cheese tasting this Sunday from 11 to 2, featuring Evan from Abbott Hill Creamery and Nico from NOK Vino. So come see us if you have the time. We'd love for you to join us. Challenges from last year. There are always these, perennial challenges that we face as a food service operation. Restaurants and retailers typically have high turnover rates and all of that. Fortunately, KFH being what it is and who we are, I think we're really fortunate in the kinds of folks who show up and are interested in joining the team. And so to some extent, we are more insulated from that than others might be. But it's still an ongoing challenge to make sure that we have a team that can keep up with the day-to-day tasks that make it all possible, make it all work. We also have the perennial problem of striking a balance between paying farmers and food vendors fair prices and maintaining affordability for our community, all the while remaining viable financially as an organization or as part of an organization. And that's where, support from our donors is absolutely instrumental. We could not do what we do without your support. It's just not possible. At least the way that we do things. So again, thank you for your support, customers, donors, everyone in between. We also, something a little bit more acute, and Pierre spoke to this last year in his section as well. The weather that we saw due to climate change is hugely impactful on our farmers, and so therefore it's impacting our ability to source specifically fresh fruits and vegetables from our local farmers. Fortunately, we have connections that expand beyond and have created a bit of resiliency. So working with our food hub partners in New Hampshire and Vermont, we're able to expand our radius of sourcing beyond this 30 to 50 miles that we started with. And that has created a lot more consistency and reliability for our customers. And it also, takes a little bit of pressure off of our local farms to supply us, and they can prioritize their direct markets as well. To that end, over $310,000 sent to farmers last year alone. And, you see the figures here of number of vendors within the 30-mile radius, within the 30 to 50-mile radius, and just outside the 50-mile radius. We're going to, continue to try and to source, from this regional sourcing pool, if you will. But we really want to, take a step back too to reassess our hyper-local aggregation systems and try and see how we can have more impact closer to home and, bring in more hyper-local farmers, as we call them. So those are two ways that we're looking to address the ongoing challenge of climate change and weather events that come from that. Overall, though, I'd say our, in the Marketing Cafe, our strategic direction for the coming year is oriented around improving the services that we provide to customers of Sweet Beet. We're looking to learn more about our customers and improve those services through continuing customer surveys, creating a new loyalty program to recognize and reward our supporters on an ongoing basis. We want to reach more local individuals and families, people who live in the Kearsarge area year-round through our outreach and marketing efforts. And we also want to continue to find creative ways to increase food access in the market across the board. Two examples there, our new discount program and also increasing use of SNAP dollars and Granite State Market Match. You'll see here on the slide that the new discount days, we launched this new program last week. As many of you know, since our inception, we've offered a 25% discount to veterans anytime, all the time. And we're now expanding those offerings to reach additional groups. And so we've started Military Wednesdays. So on Wednesdays, any military service member, active or veteran, will receive a 15% discount. Thursdays, seniors 65 and over will receive that 15% discount. And on Fridays, farmers will receive the 15% discount. So again, trying to expand this service offering to more people in the community to have a wider reach and address food insecurity a bit more broadly. I don't know if all of you are familiar with Granite State Market Match, but it's a really cool program through the state funded by the federal government as well, that provides a 50% discount on all fruits and vegetables reimbursed by that program. So when folks use their SNAP dollars, they essentially get twice as many fruits and vegetables for the same price as they would pay for one portion. And that's a really cool program. We would love to see more participation in that. And we're going to put some effort into doing so. That's it for me for the most part. I'd say, things change quite frequently in the Marketing Cafe because of how the seasonal nature of what we do. We have 2 weekly newsletters that go out that keep you up to date on fresh produce, seasonal produce that's available, new products, vendor highlights, you name it, cafe specials too. If you're not signed up now, please do sign up. It's a great way to stay in the loop and get excited about what's coming around the corner. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Great job, Lauren. Thank you so much. And speaking of, signing up for our newsletters, we are going to follow up with you guys with all the links. If you're not already signed up, we'll make sure you have access to that tomorrow when we follow up from this. And I do want to give a brief shout out to Tara, who has been managing our Sweet Beet marketing. She has basically helped us level up in so many areas of the Food Hub, from her service on the board to in community engagement and development with Franz and I, and now down at Sweet Beet Market. So a lot of these really cool new programs you see coming are because of her love and care and expertise. So Tara, if you're here, thank you so much. We're so lucky to have you on the team. And speaking of lucky, what?
Oh, go ahead.
No?
I was going to introduce you.
Oh, you're gonna that's not done yet. We're lucky also to have another amazing teammate on the KFH team, and that's Julie. She is our farm education manager, and she's going to tell you about our farm education programs here at KFH. Take it away, Julie.
Yay. Hi, everybody. Okay, so you all know that, education is really a part of everything that happens at the Food Hub. So, like Hannah said, I'm just going to kind of focus on curriculum-based farm education programs. So Pierre already mentioned these. I wanted to mention them up top are sort of our teaching themes, which we really honed in on in 2023, which are, growing food, food as medicine, nature-based self-care, and ecological learning. So these 4 themes are kind of woven throughout all of our programs and provide a foundation for what we do in all of those programs. So roses. I've got 3 main roses. I couldn't narrow it down any further. So in 2023, we launched Farm and Forest Club, which is a once a week drop off program for homeschoolers. It was today. Ra and I were in the rain outside with the kids all day, which is why I'm a little more flushed than normal. But it was a great day. So the program's been a really great success. When you make a new program, you never know how many people are going to sign up for it, but we've had, we've filled each session, we've had waiting lists, which really shows the need for it in the community, and we're so thrilled to be able to meet the need. And based on survey results from parents, we're meeting our objectives for that program, which is increasing students' environmental knowledge and skills, increasing their connection to nature, increasing their awareness of where food comes from, and their willingness to eat fresh veggies. So we're really excited about that. We also had our first full year of a new program with the local 3rd graders at Bradford Elementary, which is a partnership with the Abenaki Seeds Project. So it's a really cool way that we're bringing 2 initiatives at the Food Hub together, getting that many more kids experiencing Abenaki culture and growing food. So those 3rd graders visit us 4 times a year down at what we call Baby Beet Farm, which is the farm where the farm started down there in downtown Bradford. So that we plant the 3 sisters together in those mounds. And we have a local Abenaki herbalist named Lynn. She's amazing. She comes with us to those visits to really bring the Abenaki cultural side to life for the students. And it's just a really cool, very, very cool program. And thirdly, Anna Lick, she's the one in the slide holding that very cool snake. That's a milk snake we named Oatly because Oatly was hanging around under some boards for a while, and we'd come up every day and try and see if Oatly was there, and she hung out for a while and then she left. But anyways, Anna Lick, she's featured in our annual report, so when you read that, you'll read all about her. But I wanted to mention her because she credits her time here. She was an ELO student, which when she was in high school, and then she was an apprentice, and actually she's been hired again to help on the farm this summer, coming back from UVM. So she credits her time with sparking her interest in food systems. So now she's minoring in food systems at UVM, which is like just really cool. So again, read about her in the annual report. Right. So our thorn, our main challenge is really having to say no to new opportunities and exciting ideas. We have no shortage of opportunities and no shortage of ideas. But we're a small team. We're at capacity really. So it's nice to know there's a lot of need. It's nice to know we're meeting a lot of it, but there's always more to do. So we really have to be strategic this year to do the most we can with the capacity we have and avoid burning out, So in an effort to be as intentional as possible with our time, our strategic direction is really, our bud for education is to really try to purposefully develop an educational pipeline. I feel like I say pipeline a lot now. We're really thinking about our pipeline, right? How do we move kids along the pipeline to being maybe new farmers or mindful eaters? We talk about those. Because not 200 people that are in our programs are going to be farmers, but maybe they're more mindful about what they're eating. So we talk about growing farmers. We're like, what does that mean to grow farmers? Like, how do we grow farmers? So, we think about if you want to grow a farmer, what are the experiences they might need to have in earlier years? Like, how are they leading up to it? If we want people to care about local food when they're adults, what kind of things need to happen in earlier years to kind of to move them there. And I think about this a lot because that's why I'm here, because I grew up on a vegetable farm. I grew up in the woods. And as an adult, after college, I was sitting at a desk, I was doing fundraising full time, and I was like I was missing it, right? I was like, where are the plants at? Where I can't be inside all the time. So I left and I ended up here. And I think I was like seeking out the farm and forest of my childhood. And I want to help create those experiences for more kids. So yeah, and it's not just me. So there's actual scientific studies that show increased time in nature in childhood is associated with increased kind of positive attitudes and positive behaviors towards nature in adults. So it's something we can, for the science minded among us, we can say, we know this is important and we know it has an impact on the way people behave as adults, actually. So that's our goal, is to create the conditions for those experiences for kids. And, it's like developing a love for the outdoors, a love for growing things, a love for eating spinach right out of the ground, which the kids were doing today, and talking about how sweet it is, and like forging a connection that persists, right? Like I was on the farm as a kid and then I was like missing it, and it really persisted. So it's not just technical assistance to, people that want to be farmers, although that's a super important part of it, but it's kind of a holistic thing. And so that's what we want to do, but we also need to ask how, right? If these are the programs we want to do, how can we make it so the most people can access these programs? And we talk about getting community feedback to make sure what we're trying to do is what we are doing. And so far, feedback has been good. And that's actually how Green Thumb 101 came about, which is a program for adults. We had parents from Farm and Forest Club say, I want to learn how to grow stuff. You're teaching my kids, but I don't know how to grow tomatoes. So we had more conversations and we launched a new program, which has been super fun. And, the other piece of how is like affordability, right? Like Franz mentioned, we have some income from programs, but what's been really cool is that all of our educational programs are either free or they're based on a private self-selected sliding scale. So that's where people can, when they're registering for a program, they can pay a base rate. We identify a base rate, and then we identify some tiers that are higher than that for people who are financially comfortable. And we have some lower tiers, and we have, people can come for free if they need to. So it's been really cool that sliding scale has worked. It's really worked, which is, you never know when you try something like that, but we don't ever want people to be turned away for an inability to pay. Yeah. So it's amazing. So and all 200 kids, like I said, going to be farmers or only eat local food? And the answer is no. But beyond just growing farmers and mindful food eaters, part of our vision that Franz read earlier is, creating a more resilient community and, with healthier and happier people. And it's been again, another scientifically proven fact that time in nature is associated with better mental health, decreased anxiety and positive emotions, more positive emotions. So maybe we can address some of those mental health concerns that we're seeing in younger and younger kids these days. COVID wasn't easy on anybody. And better physical health too, which you can imagine. You're running around, you're outside, breathing the fresh air, you're lowering your blood pressure, and you got fewer chronic illnesses and better sleep, and go on and on. So, it's like, what's more important than that? I have like the best job in the world. So, okay. So I'll end, and I just wanted to thank everybody for making the educational programs possible for, like I said, on the sliding scale, which we just couldn't do if we didn't have support from everybody. You can visit us, tour, field trip, come hang out, come see Ra and I down at Baby Beet Farm down there in downtown. We're going to be growing flowers. So it's not just mushrooms you'll see, but you'll also see lots of pretty flowers this year. Shout out to Ra, one of our farm apprentices, and she does farm and forest with me. So she's just amazing. So come say hi and see you soon.
Thank you, Julie. Wow, so lovely to hear. We are so lucky to have you. So thanks for being with us and for developing such amazing programming for a variety of ages and people. Last but certainly not least, I'll be introducing our very own Hannah Flanders here to talk a little bit about our community building work here at the Food Hub.
Yes, that's right. Thank you, Ross. Well, speaking of community, we have an incredible community on this call right now, so I do not want to take away from the time that we have to hear from you. So I'm going to be brief, but community building, every single year we keep coming back to this quote from Charles Eisenstein that says, you cannot have community as an add-on to a monetized society. You have to actually need each other. And that's kind of what I've come to see the work of the Food Hub over all of these years is reminding ourselves how much we need each other beyond just the transactional nature of exchanging goods here in the community, which is super important. But it's about actually needing each other and going back to kind of the scientific evidence for that. It is a statistically significant data point in the medical field right now that social isolation has negative mental and physical impacts on our health. It is measurable, it is discussed from the scientific community, and certainly in my own felt experience, that is a consequence of our modern world. And so I love the way Jenn talked about third spaces. It's really kind of a guiding ethos for all of our programming here at the Food Hub is how do we deepen our relationships? So in terms of our wellness, our resilience, it's not just about the food that we put in our body, but it's the opportunity to connect. And especially in a post-pandemic world, and especially in this rural community, those opportunities are rare and they're really special. And it's what I love most about our work here at KFH. So in reflecting on 2023, a couple brief highlights. We were able to partner with Vital Communities to provide space for our farmers to connect here for 3 different farmer gatherings. And I'm just going to read a quick quote from one of the farmers that joined us because I think it's really beautiful. They say, "Thank you so much for bringing us all together and for feeding us a beautifully nutritious dinner. It was unexpectedly nice to simply be in a room where everyone had hands just as dirty as mine. Then to get to dive right in about local farm and food systems problems and solutions filled a hole in my heart. I felt a sense of belonging that I've been deeply missing." So that's kind of the intangible. It certainly makes me feel emotional. And the kind of the core of those farmer meetups was addressing the mental health challenges faced by our farming community because of everything that we heard today. Weather and climate change impacts, the business is hard, it's isolating, and we have our farmers discount in our market now specifically because many of the people who grow our food cannot afford to feed their families because of the inequities in pay in our agricultural communities. So we're going to be looking forward to finding more ways to connect our local farmers, so stay tuned for that. Another highlight, just quickly, is through the Tray It Forward program with our Feed Kearsarge partners and through the Abenaki Seeds Project that you can read more about on our website, kearsargefoodhub.org. We were able to plant collectively 450 home gardens in the Kearsarge area, and that is a really beautiful thing. It's one thing to have a place where you can access food anytime free of charge. It's, one thing to have these amazing curriculum-based education programs on the farm, but how do we help truly empower food sovereignty in our community? And that is reclaiming the knowledge of how to grow food, and what better way to connect each other than around the shared experience of growing food. So shout out to our partners, Feed Kearsarge partners, Abenaki Seeds partners, for making this possible. It truly is a collaborative effort. A lot of you are here tonight, so thank you so much. As mentioned throughout the evening, a perennial challenge in our programs and collectively is measuring the impact of what we do. So I feel so grateful that basically every single day we have a new request from the community to be a part of an amazing event or an initiative or something like that. And the short answer is yes, we want to be part of all of it. We find so much value in all of those things and all those collaborations, but we really do have to be strategic and find ways that we can maintain sustainability in our organization. So we want to, moving forward, speaking of our strategic direction, We are going to be investing some time. We have a new internship coming this summer that's really, really exciting. That's going to evaluate the Tray It Forward program and Abenaki Seeds project, like out in the community at those home gardens, speaking with people and understanding what the real impact is and figuring out what data points we can collect to understand the impact while still honoring that the intangible nature of community building is going to be important no matter what. We're not always going to be able to measure it, but we can learn a little bit about the impact and the areas for improvement. And finally, I'm just going to wrap up by saying that moving forward, it's already been mentioned, but we want to be transparent and we want all of our operations, successes, challenges to be open source information for any community who wants to try what we've been trying in their communities, because what we do is on a small scale that is intentional, and we are not going to grow beyond the scale that's right for our community. But what we can do is offer replicable models in ways that other communities can take and make their own if they choose. And one really, really exciting thing that I'll end on is the Tray It Forward program is in its 5th year, and there are organizations reaching out from Nashua, Southern New Hampshire, all the way up to the Upper Valley, who are literally trying this exact program in their community. And that's super exciting. So I'm feeling like this web of interconnection through the Tray It Forward program. And generally, we're just really excited to celebrate the spirit of sharing and bringing in more voices and continuing the community dialogue that makes this work so dynamic and special.
Thank you, Hannah.
So wrapping up there, speaking of community dialogue.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thanks for bearing with us. We're a little bit behind schedule, just a little bit, but we'd love to hear any questions that anyone may have.
Well, that's not working anymore because we've had all sorts of technological snafus.
Yeah, if anybody has a question, I think just go for it.
Yeah, like raise your hand if you want, or unmute. Yeah, Rochelle. You have to unmute yourself though. Can you do that, or do we have to do that?
She should be able to.
Ask to unmute. Okay.
This is not a question, it's a compliment.
Oh.
I have had a house in Sutton since 1980, and I watched Sutton and Bradford die. And then I watched it start coming to life again when you started Sweet Beets. The impact has been way beyond food. It's been extraordinary to watch, and thank you.
Thank you. That's very sweet, Rochelle. Thank you so much. Any questions? Anybody? Oh, got a quiet crowd tonight. I don't believe it.
Well, I wanted to add on to what Rochelle said. And also, one of the things I've noticed in many of the groups who are doing the extraordinary work of delivering food, bringing services into our communities, that, the pressure to meet the need can be extraordinarily hard. I mean, it's there, it's unrelenting. As you were showing the increase of the cost of the food over the last couple of years. I mean, one thing as a caring community member, how can we support you? I mean, you as individuals, you as an organization, so you will continue to move forward. We want to keep you going, and we want to keep you going in a place of balance. It's extraordinary what you've done, and also recognize the pressure it puts on you as individuals. So however we can be support, let us know.
I think everybody that's on this call is probably already doing it in many ways. I'll be honest. I think I speak for most everyone who's on the team. Sometimes just the hug is great also. But I think, again, I really do think I'm preaching to the choir a little bit, but we're putting a lot of content out there. We don't need everybody to donate $400,000. We know that can't happen, but like we've noticed with our monthly giving program, if everybody gives $5 a month, or, you know, those small donations also add up. All of the content and communications that mostly Hannah is creating, sharing that, sending it to people in your community that you're part of, your circles, that's an incredible way to support us. Of course, shopping in the market and cafe, or you can find Sweet Bee Farm this summer at the Concord Farmers Market, which is kind of exciting. Yeah, I think mentorship, you know, and I think a lot of you on this call I would consider mentors and supporters in that way. But I think that because our organization is so complex and there's so many areas that require a high level of nuance and nuts and bolts, right? From the farm to the market, the cafe, all of that. There's so much specific information and knowledge that's required. So anytime any of you are willing to share that information, we are so eager to receive it. It's really helpful. And again, I think many of you here have helped to do that for us. So thank you.
And one of my favorite. Oh, sorry. Just super.
Well, I was just I was just gonna add really quickly too. Other thing is, like, you know, connecting people, right? So we're, you know, when we send out hiring posts, when we're looking for people to join the team, if you know somebody who's got, you know, special skill sets or experience, or you know, loves the same kinds of things that we all love, and, you know, can be a dedicated contributing member of the team, send them our way. You know, that's a huge way to support our work in the long run.
I think to highlight that, I believe Kyle, our friend from NOFA, New Hampshire, sent us an email last fall sometime about this person, Michaela. Is that correct? And Michaela moved to Bradford. Kyle was like, she seems like a great person. I think she hopped on the call. She's here. Raise your hand, Michaela. And so she moved right up the street. She's been working on all sorts of her cool projects in Sweet Beet, and she just joined our community engagement committee. So that's a really neat connection. There's lots of ways to plug in, from employment to volunteering and everywhere in between. Sorry, I am emotional tonight. So,
all right, we've got a Peter hand raised from Peter. I see.
Yes,
take it away.
Yeah, there we go. I love the idea of open sourcing the formula and the success. And I think the last question was an invitation to open source some of the challenges as well, so that people can think about them here. I was curious, like a lot of towns, a lot of have struggled with affordable housing for younger people to be able to live and work in these areas. How has that impacted you folks, and how do you think about that?
Yeah, it is definitely a challenge. I'm pretty sure, at least I can think this time last year or before the cafe closed, we had such a significant number of people on staff who were actively looking for a place to live. It was a really, I don't know, it hit me really hard knowing that we had 5+ people who were looking for housing nearby, and they were traveling from afar to be with us. So it is definitely something that's come up. It's come up for the founders, it's come up for some new folks. It is a difficult thing. You all know what the housing market is like. I don't have to tell you. So it is definitely, it's not just the housing, it's also all of the cost of living. So we have in the past thought about figuring out how to potentially provide housing, you know, so work for us, and, you know, here is a place for you to live. We haven't been able to make that happen. It's challenging, as you can imagine. I think one of the things we're trying to do is increasing our compensation. I'm not sure. It's something we're going to have to keep doing. The issue, of course, is cost of living keeps going up. So, you know, it's trying to beat that. But we don't have all of the answers. We do partner with, for example, Kearsarge Neighborhood Partners. They are actively working on a variety of ways to deal with this issue. So I believe there's, is it a 60 unit or a 200 unit something getting built in New London that they have been pretty instrumental in helping to happen. They're also helping to develop, I think, manuals or helping towns develop accessory dwelling units, which is basically you can have your house and then you can have another dwelling on your property. Every town's rules are a little bit different. So those are some of the things, but we're not actively really dealing with that as much as maybe we should.
Well, no, I think that's an important part of our sustainability because we have dipped our toes in trying to figure out, like Fran said, how to provide housing. And maybe that isn't the right move for us in terms of our limited resources, and that we will rely on folks like at the Kearsarge Neighborhood Partners, who have one of their main kind of focuses right now is developing creative housing solutions in our area. So definitely shout out to KNP for literally everything. You guys are the best. And I just wanted to highlight a comment over here. Shout out to Greg and Springledge Farm. They are currently growing the seedlings for the Tray It Forward program that are going to be ready. We're launching that coming Saturday. And they're a sponsor of our community Freege and always hopping on these calls. A Love Local feature last year. So anyway, Greg, I know how much you love like compliments and attention. So I'm just gonna direct it your way.
All right.
It's almost 7:30. That's pretty.
I know we went a little long with the presentation, so usually we'd like to have the discussion section be a bit longer. Hannah's usually pretty adamant that we end on time.
Well, it's true, and I have no sense of time actually. So that's a weird duality to hold. Anything pressing? What the truth of the matter is, this is not the end of the conversation. We certainly want to respect your time tonight, but we're all in this community together. This annual meeting is a really beautiful opportunity to report back. If you're not crying, was it even an annual meeting? I'm not sure. But we hope to continue the conversation with each and every one of you moving forward. So if pressing questions arise, you can text me tomorrow.
Yeah, don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll be following up as well. And before we go, we have one quick.
Yeah, we would like to.
Very quick.
Share, very quick, don't worry. We have some things coming up that we just simply have to tell you about now that you're here. Our annual report has been, a few months in the making, but that's because we're taking great care to make it really beautiful, really special. I'm personally super excited about this report because for the first time ever, we are featuring stories from young people in our community that are actually impacted by the mission of the Food Hub and or taking it and making it their own in really cool ways. So we have interviewed and featured these stories in the report. So that's coming out this month. Please stay tuned. We have our summer gardening is launching. So Abenaki Seeds has already closed its registration. We have about 56 home growers, more than last year, that will be growing Abenaki seeds. Tray It Forward is launching on Saturday. That means you can register for free seedling trays if you feel that's helpful to your gardening journey at home, or for just $15, you can sponsor a tray and it will be matched by another tray generously provided by Springledge Farm. So sponsor one tray, it becomes 2 seedling trays, and that gets about 400 home gardens started. In addition to our weekly gardening newsletters and super cute, super cool how-to gardening videos with our favorite Leon in the garden. So stay tuned for those. A project I'm really excited about is the Climate Farmer Stories project. Sweet Beet Farm was in this project last year. It's basically connecting art, farms, and the climate challenge that we're all facing. And it's going to be the artwork from that project here in the community room at Sweet Beet in the month of June. It's going to talk about the climate change challenge and also what we can do about it, which is always heartening. And we're going to have a special event around the summer solstice for that. So please stay tuned. And as previously mentioned, employment and volunteer opportunities coming up. You do not need to remember all this. I will be emailing you tomorrow. It's just to get the juices flowing.
Finally, thank you. Thank you to our generous donors, all of our Sweet Beet shoppers, our KFH sponsors, our community partners, our team, of course, especially all of you program managers that were here tonight speaking. I'm so grateful for all of the care that you put into your presentations. Thank you to our volunteers and to our board, and of course the rest of our team as well. And last but not least, thank you so much to all of you for being here tonight. It is an honor and a blessing, really truly, to share all of the work that we are collectively able to do together.